Hello, everybody. Weren't you? You were probably not expecting that. A little bit of positivity, a little fun after a dreary evening last night. But you know what? We're not here to drab on and be negative Nancy's about it. But we're going to be for a couple minutes for sure on this before we do the preview for Club America. We've got a dual episode today for you all to preview Club America, but also close the door on last night's fixture against Columbus Crew. Both of these games being tied to the Leagues Cup, which is this new North American, really just Mexico-U.S. mega tournament, World Cup style, with some of the most exciting teams playing in North America. And last night was one to forget, not going to lie. It was, you know what, I'm just going to hop into it for, if just we're just doing a one-word summary for last night. My one word is soggy.
Ew.
Dude, just a gross thing that went on last night. I have a bone to pick with everyone in MLS authority or Leagues Cup, whoever's making these decisions on rain delays. Here's my rule of thumb. I'm just going to say this. If the rain delay is longer than the game time from the kickoff to the blowing of the final whistle, you should postpone the game. That was, if I was a Columbus fan, they better be reimbursing tickets on that because that was stupid. 11:15 kickoff. You're kidding me. I don't care if it's going to be a logistical issue to play the next day. We still had to stay in Columbus last night and fly home today at like noon. That was ridiculous. I know it's logistics and it's hard to reschedule stuff, but like, don't do that. That is awful.
Not only for the people that had to go home, but I mean that you just lose your home field advantage, which is huge for them in this tournament. And I'm surprised that they played through it. I would agree. My one word, Jake, we got a packed show with this. Mine was just annoying. I thought it was annoying to try to keep up with it. I was texting you and I'm like, when are they're so bad at these updates. I thought a couple of the things in the game were annoying. Both of their two goals were annoying. Our goal that we scored was an own goal, so that was annoying. Everything was annoying.
I want to make one comment. We'll leave the weather stuff to the side after this. Maybe we'll come back to it. I don't know. But if I have to go to the dark web to find updates on what's happening on this severe weather front, there's a problem. Someone's got to be communicating, man. It is ridiculous. If I'm the one breaking news, like it's been now postponed to 10:15, there's a problem. Why is no one communicating? Like, I don't even care if the update is that there is no update. Just give me an update that I don't have to go find myself. It's ridiculous. Like, it's awful.
The club didn't tweet anything for over an hour. Like they just said, here's your starting 11 with like the Leuven jersey and then nothing. I was playing an indoor game and I'm like, all right, I'm assuming there's a weather delay or that or someone died.
It's humorous. And we've called them out before. Everyone calls them out every time it happens. Why is it so bad? You know what, Justin? There might be a little job description we could be writing up here. We could be creating our own roles within the MLS. We could be the weather guys.
The weather guys?
The weather guys.
I know a weather guy. Shout out Mike Ritter.
There we go.
Mike Ritter. Weather guy. Yeah.
Love it. I think we're carving out a little niche for us. I think that would be something that everyone's clamoring for. But I know you all clamoring for us to get into the game, and reluctantly, yes, we will. We have a very short list of highlights to get through, so we're going to go ahead and start there. In the early part of the game, I think the initial couple minutes we were decent for, and the last couple minutes in the first half, probably like the last half of the first half, we were decent for. But to get into it, there was a couple quick counters I saw in the very early part of the game. In the third minute, one sticks out for me as there was a quick and direct counter that sprung Alm inside the 18, did not shoot the ball, needs to shoot that ball, but got in the right spot, loved it. First 10 minutes, man, and honestly, most of the first half, and I was a little bit perplexed by this, Tomas Ostrak was looking pretty good. I actually thought he looked really dangerous. He was doing some great combination and play and springing guys in behind. It was one of the better showings I feel like I've seen from him, and there wasn't many highlights last night from players, so that one kind of stuck out to me.
No, I'd agree. And I mean, you went right over it, Jake. We almost had a goal in the first minute with Leuven with a quick take from their back line, a little giveaway there, and he puts a shot on net. Or actually, sorry, it just goes just wide. But, I mean, that would have been a hell of a start and much needed, obviously, as we get into it. Celio took a guy on one-on-one, but not a surprise there in 32nd, gets a corner out of it. And like you said, I thought Ostrak actually did very well. He had a nice little cutback to Alm, who took a nice little composed touch inside the 18, almost inside the 6, and rips another shot as well. One of the things that I liked about the game that I thought was a highlight, trying to stay up with this late game, kind of like made me sit up real quick, was it was a Leuven free kick close to the corner, and you can just see that Celio drifts to the back post, just so that he could clip it over everybody, hits a side volley. And then even Taylor Twellman's like, that came straight from the training ground. It was good to see a little connection there from those guys.
No, it was. It was. There were some good Leuven services in the first half. I thought he had another great, like, curling long cross that Adeniran was just a couple steps off, couldn't get to it. He had a dangerous corner kick as well. Leuven testing the goalkeeper. I know they were wanting to get into his head because Schulte was not playing last night, which is probably a bummer for him not to play against the hometown team. First half, honestly, after they scored both their goals, I thought we actually came back into the game and it was pretty even for the rest of the first half after that. But we can't overlook that. But other kind of highlights I want to hit on before we close out the highlights is, like I said, Ostrak. We grew into that first half, like I said. And I also thought Ben Lund kind of redeemed himself from the Chicago mishap. Everyone wanted to just crap on him for that goal that he let in. And it was not a great look, obviously, but he had some great saves last night. This game could have easily been a little bit more of a gap between us and them in terms of the score line. So I was proud of him. I thought he responded well. I thought he had good distribution. I would have liked to see a little more commanding of his box, but overall, I thought it was a good performance from him to kind of right his wrongs in fans' minds.
No, absolutely. I thought that he, especially surprising with how quick he can get down. He's making hand saves. I mean, what is he, 6'6", I think?
Yeah.
He can move so quick, just get down low. It's good to see that from him. There was another highlight just real quick I want to touch on. Right towards the end, Columbus slides Russell Rowe in, the guy that ended up being the own goal for us, being a quick positive there. But it was a great track back by Nerwinski and actually gets a slide and actually gets a touch on it. And then a great save by Lund right there as well. So that was the 90th +1. I mean, yes, right at that point, that would have put a nail in the coffin if it was pretty much already over, but keeps us alive there and good to see Nerwinski hustle in there. And then the last one that I had was the 90th +2 is another great save by Lund, getting down low. So,
yeah. So looking at the stats, not much to look at here, so I'll keep it brief. I mean, they dominate possession, and usually we're like, oh, yeah, they can do that. Well, they did that, and they just were more effective last night. We only had 2 shots on target, which sucks. That just really sucks. And the only stat I think we were leading besides some of the defensive one was accurate crosses. Who cares? Like, it was just not a good night for us in terms of output and production and just threatening the goal. But I want to get into some of the lowlights because it's not for harping. I just want to highlight some of these things, make sure you all see this as well, because the reason I didn't call out Leuven in the very beginning for his opportunity was that I put that in the lowlights. You're a star like him. I know he's coming back. That ball at least has to be on goal. Think about if we would have gotten on the board in a second, or if you'd have just put that in on net, maybe rung their bell a little bit. You just need big moments from your big players. And that's one that just kind of came and went. And it could have painted a different tale on last night. So I'm not saying that he's got to stick that in the back of the net 100% of the time, but at least put it on goal, force Bush in that case to make a save and get off the right foot. Could have been different.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree because they came back. It was just the 11th minute when they scored their goal. So not a great slide there by John Bell. Gives up a free kick, I want to say about 25 yards out. And unfortunately, I still don't really know what was going on with this, Jake. The only downfall I will say about Lund is that I don't think this wall was in the right position because he didn't even go over the wall. He went around it. No, yes, it was a great free kick. But the other thing that really threw me off, though, was that maybe he wanted the wall to be more left because he had Celio at the near post. And then right when the ref blew the whistle, Celio ran up to be even with the wall, but didn't join the wall and was like 4 yards to the left, sitting in no man's land. And then he just curled right over and in, or around the side and in. So that was tough for me to see, especially that early on.
Yeah, it's really perplexing, like what happened there, because clearly someone in the lead up to the game said Zella Ryan is one of the best free kick takers in the MLS, as a proven track record of scoring goals. Let's mark the near post, and he can't slip it in there. And we're all like, okay, great. Like that's a great scouting job. Had Celio been there, he wouldn't have gone there, or we'd have cleared it off the line. But for some godforsaken reason, he leaves his post, literally leaves his post, joins the wall. By the way, goalkeeper building a wall, you don't build a wall thinking another person's joining later on. Like, you're building the wall with who's going to be in the wall. So right. That was weird. The whole thing was so bizarre. I almost feel like it was overthought. Like all the research and the scouting was there. Like, you should do this. And then they thought to themselves, well, maybe we put someone there, kind of throw them off, make them switch it up, and then we have Celia join. I don't know, but that to me was kind of a botched play for us.
No, I completely agree. I think it was a Celio choice because afterwards Ben was like, why did you leave, essentially? Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Well, let's get past it. I think Chucho he takes Nerwinski 1-on-1 in the 15th minute, rips a shot, just goes right on the outside of the post. They could have easily had a goal there. And then on the 22nd, Bartlett had a bad step up where I think, and it's not a bad step up, but if you do step, you need to win it or you need to take the guy out. You can't let ball and man get past you, and he did there. And they had a quick counterattack and a good chance for them right before, Jake, until the 29th minute. We give up the PK. Just extremely unlucky on Bartlett's side. I think the pass that came into Chucho was not even that good of a pass to where he had to try to flick it on with his left foot. That thing was going straight up in the air. I don't even know if it would have been over the goal for a corner or for a goal kick. I think it literally was popping straight up and it just hit his arm. Very unlucky way there. And then Loon just guessed wrong. I don't think the PK was overly great. I think if Loon goes left, he saves it, but nothing to him on that one.
I want to call out what happened in the lead up to the PK. If you watch this back, which I did, their center back took the ball 40 yards through our midfield. Not that he was like slicing and dicing everyone, but just drove right through the heart of the spine of our team. And that led ultimately to what was called the PK. PK, no doubter. It was a bang play. I mean, that unfortunate. But I also saw Bartlett a couple times last night. You just get pulled into no man's land in the midfield. And I think they're doing it on purpose. Like Columbus is a team of guys that know their positions. They know how to pull you out of yours to create space for their own teammates. And that happened a couple times last night. They got bailed out by an offside call in one of those situations. General for me, midfield, non-existent last night for most of the game. That I could have told you that kind of going in. I worry when Miggy is kind of left with the keys to the defensive side of the midfield. I just feel like he has a tendency to get a little bit overrun, and that's a big thing to be put to task as that young of a player. So it's nothing against him. I just feel like we don't have true cover for Blum, someone that, that's not necessarily equivalent, but that plays that same position the same way. That was unfortunate. They hit some big switches last night constantly that were, I feel like, kind of nullifying our press and ability to kind of close down on players. And our counters were so slow, man. Like beside the Dinneran getting up there to the end line, the touch line, no one's there for him in the box. No one's there waiting for him. There's no support. We were indecisive in some of our times we did get up the field. It just looked like something was off. Like we never really got going until the very, very end of the game when the subs came on.
Yeah, I will say, Carnell talked about that after the game a little bit. Jake, it's tough, like with that rain delay. I'm not going to blame it on the rain. I mean, Columbus had to do it too, but like the guys are trying to like stay warm in the locker room without getting tired. And it's very like, oh, you think you're going to come on maybe in 30 minutes or an hour, and then it ends up being 4. And so I do think it was a little bit of a slow start for us. I do think the bench guys that came in did a great job. They brought a little bit of a spark there. We still didn't create a ton of chances, but it was good to see there. And I will say, I think my man of the match, though, Jake, is Ben Loon. I think he just played great, had a number of good saves. I think he did great distribution. I didn't know. Taylor Twellman said he was the 2020 USL Championship goalkeeper of the year, which is awesome. Like the fact that we just have him as our backup. But I don't know. I think there's not a whole lot else that I feel the need to touch on in that game.
No, and you got into player ratings. I think he was my man of the match as well. Made some great saves. Could have been worse. I thought the back line was actually okay. They definitely got pulled out of position sometimes, but that's just by a great attacking front three from Columbus and great midfield as well. I specifically want to keep seeing more of John Bell. John Bell looking super athletic, dynamic. For me, I still think he's above Bartlett in the depth chart right now. I thought our fullbacks did fine. There's moments obviously they're getting pulled out, but that's just what a good team does to you. I already talked about Ostrak. I thought he had a decent half. It was weird that he got pulled off at half. I wonder if that was planned or if Carnell maybe saw what he wanted to see and then said, we're going to put him in against Club America, so let's save him for now. Leuven was fine. Like nothing. It wasn't his return to old. Also, I do not like him in the number 10. He to me needs to play deeper, next to the central defensive midfielder, not necessarily on the flank like he was last night. So you kind of lose some value from him. I thought Celio had a great game last night too. Just he kind of builds his own attacks, man. He does some good combination too, but he's just so good with his feet. He's one of those guys you can count on to generate some level of chance in a game.
Yeah, I mean, right after the goal that he kind of let in on moving up on that free kick, he went straight down and got a shot on net. I'm like, all right, this man, he just forgets. He's just put the next shot up, move on. And then I love to see that out of him, especially in a spark plug where we need that after all that delay and all that rain. I thought Alm did all right. I thought Dinneran did all right. No real like standouts there for them. But like you said, I thought Ostrak did well. It was weird seeing him come off at half. I am intrigued to see with all these minutes. I know Carnell said he thought that Leuven was only going to get 45, but then Edu told him at halftime, he's like, I'm good. Give me. And he's like, all right, I'll give you another 12 to 15, which was good to see. I like that. And especially, I mean, we have plenty of time, not plenty of time, but we have a couple days where he'll be back full strength. And Carnell's like, yeah, we're going to focus on making sure that he's good to go for Thursday.
At this point, yeah, I think the subs we already mentioned came on and had relatively decent impact. Not enough, obviously, but Aziel Jackson to me feels like if we don't start him in a game, you're really on the back foot and you're hoping for the best because right now, I feel like he is our only source of goal output in terms of either putting it away or creating it himself, or I mean, set pieces as well. But he just feels like a must start in any scenario right now. I think if he's not going to play, it needs to be someone like Indy Vassilev who needs to come in. We need someone who has that vision because no one on the field last night had it. I think Ostrak had some of it. I also think Rasmus Alm is just on an island out there, man. I don't think it's his fault necessarily in this formation. He to me just feels like a true like 4-3-3 winger, where he can play in that space and run the channels and be dangerous in behind. Him in the supporting striker role, and maybe it's something that we're not seeing in training. It just doesn't feel right. I don't feel like we're using him the right way, and he just looks lost out there. And people are talking about it too on social media. So I'm not alone. I just don't think it's his fault necessarily either.
No, I think a lot of these guys are trying to find the right spot because we used to always have Klaus up top, and then it's like who wants to play around Klaus and have Nico be underneath. And I think we're all just kind of being interchangeable right now, and I think that's fine, but we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
We can't just keep waiting on Klaus, but let's get into it real quick, Jake. Predictions. We didn't have any Grahamers or bets just because we were waiting for lineups to come out, and then they did come out, and I'm like, I don't feel overly confident about the squad, and then also rain delay, and just ended up not betting anything. But you predicted a 3-1L, which is pretty close to our 2-1L. I predicted a 2-2 tie with a PK win. Obviously, we didn't get that because we couldn't even get a second goal. So I would say you were a little bit closer on that one. But where do we go from here? We come home. We talked about this last time too. That was a dreadful, dreadful Sunday night for those fellas. They had to sleep there as well. Now they came in earlier today. Now they have 2 days to get ready for a 9 p.m. game on Thursday. So I'm just glad they're home.
Against a pretty rested Club America team as well, which does not need any bit of advantage on us. Even if we're playing at home, we actually got the chance to record with the Club America podcast, right before this. And I think they're being nice, but they should. I mean, actually, in the odds makers keeping this one close, which we'll get into, but it's going to be a uphill battle. We have to win. We have to win this game to advance. Otherwise, we're looking at 3 weeks with no games, no official games. So that's reality for us. We have our result that we have to get. Nothing short of that will do. So with that, Justin, before we transition to the next part of the pod, we do a Leagues Cup preview for Club America. If you're listening on YouTube right now, go down and hit that like button right now. Go down and hit it. It's a little one with the thumbs up. Hit the like button. Helps us a ton. And while you're there, just move a little bit over to the right and hit the subscribe button and make sure you know whenever we're going live and doing this. We appreciate you all for tuning in for this. This has been half of the show so far. And now we are going to transition into Club America, which is probably the biggest team historically on the continent of North America in terms of just history and championships and just brand name. They play at the Estadio Azteca. So, Club America, like I just said, based in Mexico City. This team is nicknamed the Las Aguilas, the Eagles. And they compete in Liga MX, for anyone that's curious. It's not Liga MX, it's Liga MX. They were founded in 1916, dude. That is nuts. We're talking like World War I time. We were founded 100 years later. So we talk about history. There's levels to this. Like I said, they play in the Estadio Azteca. That holds 87,000 fans, and they fill it. And they also travel really well. So we have some thoughts on what's going to happen with the mix of fans in the stands here. But 7-time CONCACAF Champions League winners, 13 times in the league, 6 times Copa Mexico, 6 times Campeón de Campeones, which means they play the winner of basically Mexico. And we'll get into this a little bit of a learning thing. They have 18 teams in Mexico, 18 top tier teams. And they play 2 annual tournaments, resulting in 2 champions per season. It's called the Apertura and the Clausura. The Apertura is happening right now, just started July to December, and then the Clausura is from January until May, and they have a little bit of the summer off there. So that's a little bit of context around Club America and Liga MX.
Yeah, so and with the Apertura, so they've only played 2 games so far. They're 1-1, so that puts them in 11th. That does not matter. It's so early on for them. The Clausura, They were 9-1-7, and they got second, and then they lost in the semis again. This year, their home record is 11-3-7, all of 22 and 2023. Their away record 14-4-3 in 2022 and 2023. 93 goals for, 49 against in their 42 games played. So these guys can put up some goals. What the guys were telling us on the podcast, and they obviously play well on the road because they travel well. And so it's definitely going to be an interesting thing. They asked us, Jake, if we were going to have flares at the game, and I was like, I would love to, but not a chance.
For sure. I would love to watch the flares happen, but not be close to the flares. I think that would be my ideal spot. But these fans are rowdy. They are going to bring it to St. Louis. The point being made in the last podcast we did, which was so much fun talking to these guys, and we wonder, and this was mentioned in the broadcast site, so I'm sure you all heard it from Taylor Twellman, if U.S. is going to watch this game, the U.S. Soccer Federation, and think about, the allocation of Mexican fans, Club America fans, to St. Louis City fans. And if they see that to be a pretty good majority of City fans, we could very much be looking at St. Louis becoming a pretty big focal point for the national team picture moving forward, considering we draw a pretty pro-American crowd to this game, because they, like you just said, Justin, they're one of the best traveling teams in the continent as well. Like, they just fill stadiums. They filled Philadelphia. They fill even cities you wouldn't even think about with pro Club America fans. So it should be very interesting. And another thing is, dude, they've got some really, really big players playing for them, which we're gonna get into right now.
Yeah, Jake, I'm probably gonna butcher these names.
Go for it. Come
on. Julian Quiñones.
Okay, we'll go it. Yeah, we'll take that.
26-year-old Colombian, played for Tigres and Atlas in Liga MX prior to this. His $9 million move to Club America, and he had 21 goals and 3 assists last year. Only has 1 goal so far this year. I mean, so they've only played 2 games, so he's a great scorer. And the guy that we were talking about, Ivan, he was saying that he's like, what are we kind of predicting in these games? And he mentioned this guy multiple times. He's like, I could see us also just dumping it and letting this guy run because he can absolutely fly.
Which scares me, man. Yeah, we kind of were behind enemy lines on this podcast, which is good. We got some insights we can share with you all. But basically, they're going to have him just run train behind either Tim Parker, John Bell, Josh Hart, whoever's playing center back, just sending him over the top and in behind because he's got lightning speed, great goal scorer, obviously. They have another great goal scorer who I don't expect to play next to him, but probably feature in the game, Henry Martin. They're one of their strikers, 30-year-old Mexican, played for Club Tijuana and Club America, 69 goals and 215 appearances for both those teams. He has 39 caps with the Mexican national team, just won the Gold Cup with them. Yet to feature so far because he was on that duty, but last year he was the Golden Boot winner in Mexico. He had 24 goals and 10 assists last season, which is electric. No one even came close to what he was putting up in terms of numbers.
I will also say, with a couple of these guys being on the Mexican national team with the Gold Cup, they even mentioned on the podcast, they're like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we give them a little bit of a break. They all went on vacation and celebrated a little bit. I'm like, oh, I'm sure they did, dude.
I hope they did.
For winning that. Yeah, that's huge. So Alvaro Fidalgo?
You just gotta own it, Justin. Be confident. Alvaro Fidalgo.
All right, there you go. 26-year-old Spaniard, grew up in the Real Madrid youth system. He has 3 goals and 8 assists last year. He's one of those guys that just kind of brings it up. He had the most touches in Liga MX last year, which is impressive to say when you have a team like that really likes to hold the ball and be possessing. So he's one of their guys that they build around in the middle. I'm just going to go straight into this next one, Jake. Diego Valdez. He's their attacking mid, 29-year-old Chilean, played for Chile's first year before making the move to Liga MX. 13 goals, 12 assists last year. 1 assist so far this season. He's a big playmaker for them in the Liga MX.
Yeah, so most goal-creating actions last year for the whole entire league. So they had the leading touch person, so the leading guy on the ball, which is Fidalgo. They had the leading basically goal creator last year, which is Valdez, and the leading goal scorer last year, which is Martin. So things aren't looking any easier for us heading into this game. Honorable mentions, they do have an American on the team. Alejandro or Alex Zendejas is a winger for them. Had a good year last year for them as well. And they also have Jonathan Dos Santos, who people might remember from the LA Galaxy, played 105 games for them. We could see him in this game. I think some of the guys we were talking to on the last podcast said that he might feature just because of his familiarity with the MLS. They are head coached by Andre Jardim, 43-year-old Brazilian who they just hired in June after their former coach resigned following an early exit from the playoffs. they have very, very high expectations for Club America. It's not a team that diddle daddles. If you're not winning, you're out. So that guy left. And people forget Berhalter was having preliminary talks with Club America before actually being announced to retake his position for the men's national team. I actually heard a hot take here, Justin. Let me know what you think here. The word on the street is that they were actually getting close to hiring him, and the U.S. was not getting the traction they wanted to in their coaching search. Heard that he was getting close and said, let's just snap him up and just bring him back. That's the most recent theory that I've heard.
My theory would have been let him go, but maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. Let's get into trends and storylines real quick for these guys. So you already mentioned it. They got eliminated in the Cloud Zero playoffs earlier than expected in the semis after having a great season and getting second. Their last 5 away games, I had to check you on this one. Win, 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 win. So they also beat in those 5 games Cruz Azul, who just lost to Miami CF on that messy free kick. They beat them 3-1 both times in 2 of those last 5 games. 2.14 points away or points per game in away games and a plus 23 goal differential.
Yeah, ironically, this team plays their home stadium is the Estadio Azteca, which is legendary, but they're better away.
Yeah.
And they have an XG last year. So all these stats you're going to see here right now, I'm not looking at the 3-game sample they've given us so far. So we're taking it from the last season. So last season being the Aperture and the Clausura from the last season. So looking at that span, they were number 1 in XG with 2.13 per 90, which is absurd. Goal output, 2.21 goals for per game. So they actually outperformed their XG, which was north of 2. And they were number 1 in both those stats. They were just a little bit marginally worse away, but still 2.08 XG is impressive for away form. And they scored just about half their goals. Half of their 93 goals were scored away from home, which is just that kind of performance is just, you don't see very often. And about a third of them come right before halftime. So this is a team that likes to go into half on fire, making you think about some things in the locker room.
And they take a ton of shots. They're second most in shots, first most in goals per shot at 0.12, third most in shots from free kicks as well. 55% possession. That's what the guys mentioned on the podcast, said that they really like to control the ball, but they will come at you. Second most in progressive carries, number 1 in passes, second most in passes with top 3 in short, medium, and long passes. Also number 1 in passes in the final third and into the 18. So you know that these guys can work it up the field and then try to finish once they get closer. And the second most in crosses and corners. So it's one of those teams that is just a high-powered offense. But I will say, and we have some pretty good stats we'll get into here for defense for them. And they're number 1 in defense for Liga MX. But the guys on the podcast mentioned that they are a little scared about their defense.
This is when you get into the balance of the stats versus the eye test here. So I think they've gotten worse on defense in terms of personnel between last season and the beginning of this season, which I think is part of it. But last season, they were also the best team in terms of expected goals against defensively. They only allowed 1.38 per 90, and they actually only allowed goals per game of 1.17. So both of those are number 1 in last year's league. They were a little bit worse away from home. They allowed just over half their goals away from home. 42% of those goals they were conceding were from in the first half hour of the game. So 0 to 30 seems to be the time to hit them, as well as the last 30. The middle 30 is probably the most dead time against them. They kind of control like the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, but beginning of first, end of second, dangerous times for them. They're not a very big a tackling team or very aggressive team in terms of pressing, so I wouldn't expect to see that from them. They've had some pretty solid goalkeeping, but this is a team, like you just said, Justin, the guys we're talking to behind enemy lines, talking about that is their frailty. That is their weak point. Their defense is not the best, and they are expecting goals. They are expecting us to score goals against them, which has not been easy to score any goals recently from open play. So I'm hoping we nix those demons in this one.
Yeah, I will say, and one of the keys to the game for us, in my personal opinion, Jake, is we got to bring the intensity and the energy to the stadium. You know that they will with their fans. They're going to be excited to be playing in America in front of a crowd like we have. We're back home. If we lose this game or if we tie with this game, we will be likely not playing for 24 days straight, which is such a long time to just be practicing against your friends and not actually being in a competition. So we got to bring the heat early and often. And then, Jake, this is one of my favorite stats. I think we need to win every ball in the air. I spelled air, E-R-R-O-R. I was really trying to move fast on this one. A-I-R. And focus on the second balls after we win it as well. I looked this one up. They only have 3 guys in their team that are taller than 6 foot. One of their guys is 21 years old, 5'9", 96 pounds.
Holy crap. What?
These guys are they are small and they are fast, but that's where I think Big Sam Adeniran is going to come in and step in. Big Tim Parker, big Roman Berkey. I don't know.
You know, I will give us that. And I think a key to the game I'm just going to tentatively add here is physicality. Bully this team where you can. I want Jared Stroud just being a menace to these guys. I want him in heads. I want Tim Parker just throwing elbows in people's backs. Not like elbow, like a hard elbow, but like give him a little shoulder tap on every head ball you can. Like that's one of the things you got to get to with this team. If they don't have that big presence, you've got to be that big presence against them and make sure they feel a little bit of fear there. Offensively, we just got to be very, very clinical, man. We got to be able to finish our chances. I don't think there's going to be a ton coming our way. So when we do get those, and we force turnovers on their weaker back line, we've got to make them pay. We talked about last night, a little bit wasteful on the couple opportunities we got, but if you're only going to get a couple, you've got to make one of them count at least. So for this team, just go with this defense. Do not fear them. They are absolutely one of the biggest clubs in North America and definitely in history here, but treat them as if they're nothing. Go in there, play free, and especially offensively, look to exploit them. Get in behind, shake them a little bit. Like I want to see a little bit of that tenacity, that mental edge from the guys. I didn't see it last night. There was none of that.
No, and I think this is a great chance for us. We talked about it, I said it probably 10 times now, AZ in the Open Cup. This is where some of our guys can shine. And if you want to take these guys one-on-one, I would love to see it. We don't have to try to play through them or play around them or over them. Take them one-on-one, take them down the sidelines, get a ball in, and let's finish this. I would love to see it. I do think there'll be some goals, but hopefully only for us as we touch on the defense here. I think a big one for us, Jake, is, and it showed in this last game, and we've given up a couple, is no cheap fouls around the box. Don't let these guys have a chance at a free kick. Yes, hopefully we'll have Roman back in there. Nothing on Lute on the last one, but it's one of those things where we can't just be giving up chances like that through stoppages. I think we can play defense pretty well through the run of play. It's when we give up the free kicks that's tough, especially if it's not a shot on goal. We need to make sure that we mark these guys tight. And I think they'll take some short corners because, like I said, I think we're going to be the big boys in the middle, and then we need to get to the second ball as well.
And I think it honestly might pay off for us. We played Columbus first. Either one of them, I feel like they play similarly. They both like to possess, both like to pull you out of position. Do your best not to do that on Thursday. And I know that sounds like just, armchair quarterback stuff, but do your best to just play your position and know they're going to try to pull you out. No, they're going to kind of pull you into the middle of the field as a center back to make sure that they can create space in behind and try to bait you in there. Be better than that sometimes. Pick your moments. That'll be there sometimes. Absolutely. But I really hope that Carnell and the staff, after seeing what happened, yesterday, seeing us get exploited in some ways, obviously set pieces, like you mentioned, got to be a big thing. Got to play composed. Cannot allow stupid fouls tomorrow. But also in open play, just don't give them anything. Make them earn it. And that's what we have to force on them on Thursday. I keep wanting to say tomorrow. I wish it was tomorrow because I just want to get it over, get this Columbus Crew thing out of my mind as soon as possible. But honestly, we're going to get into this here. I really do think we stand a better chance than a lot of pundits are going to give us credit for, especially now that we need to respond following Columbus Crew.
And we're coming back home, dude. I think people completely forget what we're like at home. It's been a bit since we played at home. So I'm not going to be surprised by there. I will say the last thing I'm going to say on things, keys of the game, first 20, last 20, don't give up any goals. We cannot start slow and we cannot finish slow because we need points here. And one thing that I wanted to touch on here. So reminder for everybody, now that we lost to Columbus Crew, they have 3 points. We have 0. Then we are going to play Club America. Then Club America will play Columbus Crew. So we need to get this dub. I would say somehow if we tie, Jake, we have to win the PKs because if we lose it, we're automatically out. We'll finish with 1 point. They would have 2 right there, and then we'll be chilling out on their game against Columbus on Monday. But the tiebreaker, if there does come down to anything like this, because it'll be the last time we kind of talk about it, if 2 teams in the group are tied at the same amount of points after group play, it will go to a head-to-head. And then after that, if you're still tied, it will go to goal differential and then goals for. So just keep that in mind as we kind of think about this. But let's focus strictly on this game. Jake, you want to talk starting 11?
Yeah, unfortunately, just went the exercise of this, just doing it. And I'm actually feeling pretty confident in it. So I think we will return. And we talked about rotation. Yeah, I know we rotated last night, and a lot of guys still had starts from their belt, but that wasn't our first 11, and it wasn't close to it either. So I think for me, our back 4 is entirely replaced following last night. With Hebert, Parker, Yarrow, and Watts. That's our new back four. Berkey, I think, also returns unless there's any sort of lingering thing he has from the All-Star game. I think that was just rest, and I totally endorse that as well. I think he needs that. I think we go with a 2 in the midfield to protect that back four, knowing they got speed in behind, and I think that'd be Leuven and Blum for me. So 4-2, 3, and I'm going to go Stroud, Jackson, and I said Alm on the podcast, but you made a good point. The 90 minutes weren't great. I still think he's better on that right side, but I think we might give Indy the shot to go on the right side of that midfield because he has that ability to play the wings as well. And then I would go personally with Nico Gioacchini up top. He's rested more than Adeniran is. Adeniran was pretty well nullified in that Columbus Crew game. I think you might need a little more dynamism, someone that can offer you things going both ways. And I think Adeniran can hopefully come on as an impact sub if needed. But that, to me, would be the starting 11 to go with.
Dynamism. I like that.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I like the new, or definitely the back four with Berkey, the 2 in front, Blum and Leuven, very easy. I would go Stroud. I would go Indy in the middle and give me AZ wide. Let him do a little spark plug on the right. I like that usually out of Celio, but we've talked about that. I think Celio is better off the bench with those fresh legs. I'll take Nico up top. And I'd say if we're not winning that game by the 65th, 70th, you put Big Sam in there and you let him get downhill. You let him hold the ball up, play in front of these guys, spin off it, and we'll get a goal out of him.
Yeah. And I think Big Sam, definitely want to bring him on early if things aren't going your way, just because of that physicality. Again, they don't have guys that look like that can do what he does physically. So like, I really want to see that from us and quick. If things aren't going well, change it. Because you have to win. Like you said, there is no alternative. We have to win this game or we won't go through. And if we win, we're not guaranteed to go through. So we have to win to give ourselves a fighting chance. There's your 11. Prediction time, Justin, start us off. What are you thinking here?
I'm thinking some goals. I'm actually going to bring this back down from what we talked about with those guys. I think we're going to win this one 3-1. I think we are going to start hot. We're going to get a goal in the first 25 minutes or so, and then probably get another one before halftime. They're going to get one back earlier in the second half, and we're going to punch them right back in the mouth 10 minutes later. And no goals are going to be scored in this game by the other team, at least in the last 20 minutes. I take that back because I could see them trying to make a little bit of press knowing they're down 3-1. So maybe we sneak in a fourth there, but I'm going with 3-1 dub.
Yeah, I'm going with 2-1 dub. And I have no idea how it's going to happen. I just feel like it's going to happen, and it has to happen for us. So I think the early goal, to me, feels a mandatory part of that prediction, where you've got to get up early and mount the pressure on versus just like wait to get your flurry of opportunities. So I'm hoping that it comes early for us. But I could also see this one being a goal fest. We heard the predictions in our last show, 4 3s, 4 2s, just lots of goals. They're a big high power output. So are we.
I just don't think they don't know that we have Tim Parker with Roman Berkey.
TP. All right.
Starts back. Yeah, let's get into the bets real quick, Jake. City money line plus 170. A little bit of underdogs here. It's Club America's plus 145. The draw plus 235. The over is minus 115 and the under is minus 120. So really close there. There's not a whole lot of lines out right now, just because it is early. There's no specific player props or anything. But Jake, is there anything of that you like?
Yeah, I haven't done enough research here, and I'm going to do more as we get closer to it. Because actually, by the way, I think those odds are very favorable for us from a gamesmanship perspective. But for money winning, I would not have expected us to be that close in terms of the odds. I feel like Club America should walk into this much heavier favorites than we are. I mean, look at they're the most expensive team in North America, which is just kind of weird that we'd be on almost even par with them. But that tells you what Vegas is thinking here, which hopefully aligns with what we're thinking. My initial reaction would just be to bet the over 2.5. Keep it simple, keep it light. It's definitely going to be goals in this game. It's not going to be a defensive nail biter, down to the final wire. And if it is, I could be down for it. But I do think it's going to be a lot of goals in this game. So I think the over 2.5 feels pretty safe at this moment.
I like that as well, but I'm going to play it safe like I have. And if I think that we're going to score 2 goals, I'm going to hit it, especially when it's plus money. Us to score 2 goals or more is plus 140. I love it. And then we already talked about it here. I added it in here. The line will come up when we get closer. Jared Stroud, yellow card. That may be my hammer. There is no chance that this man comes on this field and doesn't get a yellow card on Thursday night. And
oh my God.
Yeah. To watch it.
Especially if he starts. Jared Stroud yellow, as well as Jared Stroud shot on goal, is definitely one of the better locks. And I also think there's no accumulation in this that we're probably that cognizant of, at least because we're playing for our lives at this point. So Jared Stroud isn't going to get suspended in the MLS because he gets another yellow here. And I know he's looking at that on the MLS side right now. So I love the Stroud yellow. I think that's awesome. What do they usually give those in terms of odds, Justin? Do we have any?
I'm going to say that's probably going to be a plus 200.
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely.
Unless I'm completely wrong. I don't really look at yellow cards, but this one's happening for sure.
Yep. I like that. I like that. Hey, last thing before we wrap up, and this is just kind of like a quick, and we talked about this kind of thing before too, but I didn't like the game last night, obviously, but I also really dislike the toxicity, man. I mean, reading social media and people's reactions and their catastrophizing after we lose to the Columbus Crew, who are, what did we just say? I mean, like third or fourth in the East right now, one of the best teams in the MLS. It's ridiculous, man. Like people attacking players and this club is finished and everything we've done is fake and we're just not what we thought we were. Oh my God, tap the brakes, people. Like, this is crazy. Look at the freaking standings in the West Conference. Like, we're number one right now. This is a luxury we're playing in this tournament. We're welcoming in one of the best teams to ever play in North America to our home turf on Thursday. Let's be a little more optimistic. I just don't need the negatives. Like, it's just, yeah, you can definitely be critical for sure, but like, got to be also a little more constructive because some of it's just nasty.
And dude, Carnell appreciated how the boys fought last night. I mean, going down early, Carnell said it could have been a 4 or 5-0 game. The guys hung with it. It's tough to try to stay that warm 4 hours. Ben Lou played great. We've already talked about this. Columbus is 8-1-3 at home. Now they're 9-1-3 at home this season. Incredible for them. And they didn't even have any fans there. I mean, it's just a tough team to play against. Yes, we could have played a little bit better, but now we got Club America on Thursday night, 9 p.m. Plenty of time to get down to the pitch, get some dinner, get some drinks, drink responsibly. It's going to be a long night.
Yes, it shall. Yes, it shall. Let's exercise the demons, man. Let's go out in League's Cup on a high, at least. You know, let's just be really competitive in this game. It's not often you get to stack yourself up against one of the best teams in Mexico. So I'm really excited for it. Wouldn't have chosen this group a different way. And I think we've got our work cut out for us. But you know what? It's going to be hopefully a game to remember. So I'm really excited for it. Hope you all are too. We will catch you all at City Park and at the pitch beforehand if you want to stop by and say hi to your favorite podcast hosts, Jake and Justin. Until then, we'll do a little preview, probably a little recap on Friday here, but hoping it's not our last game for the next 3 weeks, man. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with myself if this happens, but we're not going to worry about that at all.
I got some ideas what we can do. We'll talk about it.
You'll keep us busy. But in the meantime, thank you all for tuning in today. Hope you all listen to this in the morning on Tuesday or having a fantastic Tuesday and the rest of your week. We'll catch you all on Friday for the recap, but Thursday night, it's going to be electric, baby. All for City.
All for City.